Welcome to Battalion 13 the podcast, Episode 5. Plumes of smoke filled the air. It was dark, save for a red light in the sky emitting from a giant chasm, illuminating the city. The buildings were completely dark, and most likely without power. People were running in terror, their entire bodies raw with fear. This was the end of the world for them. Darian longed to help them, but he wasn't able to affect the world around him. It was like he was a ghost, or an unseen observer. Then, he saw nothing, only absolute blackness. As his sight returned, his vision filled with burned-out buildings and streets littered with ash and debris. Then he could see them, hordes of demons and vampires. Somehow, he knew that it was supposed to be daytime, but the sun could not be seen. As he looked at the sky, he saw what looked like a red force field covering the city, blocking out the sun. Vampires could run free. He knew that he couldn't affect anything, but he didn't remember dying. Therefore, he ascertained that this must be a dream, or rather a nightmare. In ordinary circumstances, this sudden realization would have given him control over the nightmare. But these were not ordinary circumstances. He was forced to watch as horrific atrocities took place. The part of him that knew that this wasn't happening wanted to wake from this horror, but a larger part of him wanted to see as much as he could, so he could try to understand why he was having these apocalyptic visions. This felt more real than any nightmare he'd ever witnessed. If this was happening, or was going to happen, Darian thought he had better find out as much information as possible. He knew that he was in Baltic City. He knew that it was some sort of demon attack. But it was organized by someone with access to otherworldly technology. All that he could do for now was walk around the city. No one in the dream could see him or touch him. After noticing a good number of demons and vampires walking toward the center of town, he decided to follow. They stopped at a large park in the center of the city. Darian could see a man standing before them. He was almost able to make out what the man looked like. As he focused, the image grew clearer, and just as he was able to get a clear view, his alarm went off and he was awake. He was exhausted. He felt like he hadn't even slept, but looking at his alarm clock, he could see it had been a full 8 hours. The nightmare, or whatever it had been, must have prevented him from getting any restful sleep. He could barely move, so he went back to sleep, choosing to skip his morning classes. With everyone else in the dorm gone, it was completely silent for the rest of the morning. It was lunchtime, and Max decided he wanted to make some new friends. He spotted a table full of green-skinned beings and asked if he could join them. One of them pulled out a chair, indicating he could sit in it.
Please, join us.
Thanks to the subdermal universal translator, Max could understand everything they said. It sounded like they were discussing tactics. Max thought it might be a good time to break the ice with a joke.
So, you guys know when someone wants to fight you and one or both of you begins to remove restricted clothing?
Sure, common practice to allow for more free-flowing movements during a fight.
Max gave him a half smile.
What if it didn't stop at one article of clothing? What if instead of just taking off a coat, you just kept removing clothing while keeping a complete straight face? And then, all at once, you were completely naked. Do you think that would stop the fight?
It seemed that most of the people at the table were silent after hearing Max's joke. Max flashed them a grin, and the whole table burst into a loud, contagious laughter. One of the green-skinned men smiled back.
What is your name?
Max Knight.
It is good to make your acquaintance. I am called Pharos. I always appreciate a good joke. I appreciate you reaching out to us and making the effort. Our species is part demon, and most are intimidated by our presence.
Makes no difference to me. If you're cool with me, I'm cool with you.
Let us drink and be cool, then.
Pharos raised a glass.
To Max, the cool human from Terra 1.
Pharos and his friends pounded the table with vigor and clinked glasses. After lunch, Jesse and Max headed to class. The lecture was about finding your spirit animal.
And haven't you ever felt that there is just one creature in your world that you feel akin to? Yes, Max?
I've always felt drawn to wolves. They run in a pack like me and my friends. Wolves are loyal, and they protect their own.
Exactly right, Mr. Knight. What about you, Jesse?
To be frank, ma'am, I don't even feel like I relate to humans, let alone another earthly beast.
Yes, I've sensed this within you, Jesse, but didn't want to call it out. There are those of you who are descendant from life forms other than human. Even if you were born on a Terra-based planet and you look human, you're not 100% human. It's possible your species may have mated with a human species long ago.
I guess I always knew. I didn't feel comfortable saying it out loud.
I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I had assumed you had already knew, but were being a bit sarcastic.
The teacher quickly tapped the button on her communication device and called for a counselor. Jessie would need a professional to absorb this new information. It was late afternoon, and the entire village of St. Vincent was celebrating 150 years of making custom teddy bears. Dominator stared longingly through a glass pane window at a collection of small bears. She pulled a very worn miniature bear from the inside of her jacket and held it up as to compare it to the pristine bears in the shop.
I will turn your cities into ruins and lay waste to your sanctuaries, and I will take no delight in the pleasing aroma of your offerings.
She began to walk with purpose towards the town square where many of the villagers were gathered. Children enjoyed gigantic fried cinnamon donuts shaped like teddy bears. Parents carried balloons and prizes from the day of festivities. Orchestral music was played through the open patios. Everyone who had musical ability knew the teddy bear serenade, and anyone who had a musical instrument was playing it. Dominator spoke into a 24-karat gold bracelet on her right wrist.
Red Beetle 1, do you hear me?
Loud and clear, Madam Dominator. What can I do to assist you?
Ready the plasma bombs. I want one on every street corner.
Yes, madam. Every desire will be met.
Thank you.
She was grinning now with ultimate pleasure. Everyone would pay. If she couldn't have her Adelaide, then why should anyone else be happy? All these filthy, dirty parents with their spawn.
In fact, the law requires that nearly everything be cleansed with blood, and without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. Red Beetle 1, where will I sit to watch the festivities?
The West Clock Tower on Orchard Street should be far enough from the destruction to keep you safe.
You are too good to me. I much prefer working with you than those vile vampires. You may be part demon, but you aren't going to try and make me your dinner.
Thank you, Madam Dominator.
Dominator strode over to a woman with her daughter. They were splitting one of the enormous teddy bear donuts.
Good afternoon. Are you having a wonderful time?
Both nodded, mouths too full of sugar and dough to answer.
I hear there's going to be a parade in a few minutes. I've secured a perfect viewpoint from that clock tower over there. Would you like to join me?
The woman and child looked into Dominator's eyes and became entranced by her spell. They followed her without any hesitation. The Red Beetle team of demon foot soldiers had completed their task of deploying the bombs, so they joined Dominator in the clock tower. At this point, it was almost too easy. They simply pushed one button, and massive explosions erupted throughout the entire city. Smoke, dust, and debris filled the air as the city came crashing down. While the mother and daughter watched the destruction, their bodies began to shake uncontrollably with fear, yet they could not move. Worse than any earthquake, all the residents of St. Vincent were now dead except for the two.
Then in my anger, I will be hostile towards you, and I myself will punish you for your sins 7 times over.
With one swift stroke of her plasma blade, 2 heads rolled onto the floor. One tear fell from Dominator's cheek. She pulled out the bear in her coat, looked upon it with regret, and then shoved it back quickly. The leather-clad demon master then climbed onto her dimension cycle and transported herself and her team of red beetles back to the Two Keys Hotel on Terra 1. Darian and Kristen sat in their dorm room, trying to figure out some way to get in touch with their families back home. I really miss Mom and Dad. I wonder if there's a way for us to send a message from here to our Earth. I'm going to search this tablet to see what I can find. Darian handed Kristen the tablet. It was on a page that described a common method for interdimensional communication. Kristen, what about this? It says here we can communicate with other dimensions, using a type of radio that transmits at a frequency that can be translated by the spirit realm.
Really? That's freaky as shit. How is it picked up or communicated with someone in Terra 1?
It can go through a medium or channeler. The channeler acts as a microphone on the other side. Mom and Dad will hear the channeler's voice, but we will hear Mom and Dad.
Like Poltergeist? I'm still a bit confused.
It says that equipment can be found in the communications lab here at the Academy. Let's go check it out. They used the map on Darian's tablet to find it. Once there, they immediately saw the equipment in question. It was bronze with many sapphire-colored gears. Different types of semi-precious metals were fixed to the sides of the telescope-shaped object. Darian hurried over to it. So how does this work? Oh wait, I see. The dial must be set for the dimension you want to communicate with. Darian turned one of the sapphire gears and shifted a bronze handle, which began a ticking sound. He remembered that because Terra 1 was a quartz-class world, he had to move the dial to a quartz setting. Darian continued. Then this setting is the one you pick to tell the device which person you want the message to go through. So I guess there are people that are already chosen to do this.
What do you mean, go through? Someone speaks the message on our behalf?
I think so, yes. Look at this list. How can we be sure that we can trust the person in question? Kristen read through the names listed, and then she saw one that she knew she could trust.
Look, Samantha is on the list. We just have to tell her who we want to communicate with, and we are all set.
Kristen took the microphone and turned the clear quartz dials to communicate with Samantha Madison. She pressed and held the talk button on the microphone.
Samantha, this is Kristen. Do you read me?
At first, all she got was static. Then she started to hear Sam's voice through the radio.
Yes, Kristen, I hear you. How can I be of service?
Darian and I want to talk to his parents, which I guess are your parents too. Can you act as medium for that?
Sure, but how did you guys find out I was related to Darian?
Oh, Sean told us. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, I guess. Let me get over to our parents' house, and then I will get ready for the IDC check. I will contact you on this frequency when I arrive.
Okay, thanks. We will stay put until we hear from you.
The communications went to a hold state, and then there was complete silence over the radio.
I guess we just have to sit here and wait.
Oh great, I love doing that. It was a good hour before the communicator squelched to life again. In the meantime, Darian and Kristen decided to study for their Immortal Studies class. There was a quiz coming up on how to make the perfect wooden stake.
Kristen, Darian, are you guys there?
Yes, we are both here. How do we begin?
I am going to get myself into a meditative state, and then you will talk and listen through me. Once I am ready, the radio will come back on.
The radio went dead for a moment, and then sprung back to life.
Hey Darian, Kristen, how are your classes going?
Darian and Kristen could hear Eugene loud and clear. Darian and Kristen's voice, however, came through his daughter, Samantha. Dad, it's so good to hear your voice. Classes are going fine. I just found out that I have a lot more abilities than just super strength. How's everything there?
Everything here's fine. I understand you met with your brother. How's he doing?
He's doing fine. He's engaged now. We met his fiancée when we had dinner with them. She teaches botany.
We know all about her. We haven't met her yet, but I'm glad to hear that Sean is happy. What new abilities have you discovered?
Well, I can run really fast, and when I fell off the balance beam, I floated for a second. So Jake thinks I have flight capabilities. He said that there may even be more that I haven't unlocked yet. Oh, and I saw a couple of your records of achievement the other day. Looks like you were pretty fast here too. I wish they had sporting events that I could compete in. Looks like that would be a lot of fun.
That was a long time ago. I barely remember it myself. Yes, I was a speed demon like yourself. Be careful you don't burn up, son. Stay nourished and hydrated. It's great that you can do all that. How about you, Kristen? Any new abilities?
I'm learning to use magic to open windows to other worlds. We got to see a little of what Terra 7 looks like. It was beautiful.
That all sounds swell. We have some news. Darian, your mother is being honored at Johns Hopkins for homegrown herbal remedies. She figured out how to make a natural anesthetic, and she sold the patent to the medical community. So we're getting an addition on the house. We'll have plenty of room for you both when you get back in a few months.
Dad, Mom, that sounds awesome. How's Maddie? She staying out of trouble?
Haven't seen too much of her lately. She got a new boyfriend and she spends most of her time with him. When she's around, she has been a bit different. She's always writing in that diary of hers, and she dyed her hair black with red streaks. And she started dressing in a lot of dark clothing and wearing black makeup. I just don't get kids these days. You're never like this.
I'm sure it's just a phase. I could talk to her if you want, through Sam.
That may be a good idea, but she isn't here now. I will tell her you asked about her and try to arrange a time that you can talk to her. Through Sam, of course.
Dad, are you sure everything's okay? I've been having this dark feeling, and I thought it was about you guys.
Other than Maddie's new affinity for dark clothes and bad boys, everything's fine. I do have to go, though. I'm in the middle of an experiment, and it's about time for the next step.
Well, it's been good catching up. Give our love to Mom and Maddie.
Will do. Tell Max and Chad we said hello.
Will do. Talk to you later. Samantha came out of her trance.
Well, we will have to do this again soon. See you in a few months.
Okay, bye, sis.
Bye, Sam.
The comm system went dead, and Darian turned it off. Well, I guess everything is fine, other than Maddie. I had no idea she was into all that goth stuff.
Maybe that's the feeling I got. I hope she hasn't gotten so wrapped up in that new boyfriend, it's changed her personality. I really liked who she was before we left. Although being goth isn't bad, it's kind of a neat style. It's just, I hope she's not sad, feeling depressed, you know?
I hope not too, but we have to let her live her own life and make her own decisions. She'll learn from them eventually, like we all do. Darian and Kristen left the communications lab and walked back to their dorm. Denise had been taking notes all day on the multiple monitors that viewed worlds and dimensions all over the galaxy when a distress signal came through the center screen. A visual of a small town in Italy had just been raised to the ground for no obvious reason. This was the Renegade's signature move. The oddest part of this massacre was the amount of teddy bears strewn across the streets. An audio file from one of the Renegades was also captured.
Ready the plasma bombs. I want one on every street corner. Then in my anger, I will be hostile towards you, and I myself will punish you for your sins 7 times over.
Denise's mind began to contemplate the possibilities. Was the leader of the Renegades a woman? And why attack during a teddy bear festival? Denise decided to call upon her mentor, John Pierce. Ethan pulled out his tablet PC and looked for the Fred Sanders research tile. While depressing the tile, he stated his request aloud.
Fred, I need some help with some research.
How can I help, Mr. Evans?
I was wondering if you could help me learn more about weaponry protocol.
Weapons protocol varies by universe, organization, country, etc. Is there a specific protocol you are interested in researching?
Hey Trent, come over here a sec.
Yes, Ethan. How can I help?
I think Fred may be able to help us figure out some information about the weaponization of the Timber Juice. We just have to ask the right questions.
Ethan once again held down the Fred Sanders research tile.
Fred, can you tell me the protocol for using chemical warfare by the United Alliance of Dimensions?
The United Alliance of Dimensions has not as of this date used chemical warfare. There is no set protocol.
Very interesting. If there is no current protocol, maybe we could influence those in charge.
Great thought, Trent. Now we need to figure out who's in charge.
Fred, who is in charge of creating weapons protocol?
The process is cumbersome and diplomatic. You can access the files on how a protocol is established within the articles of the UAD. Would you like me to pull them up for you?
Sure.
There sure are a lot of steps here. Diplomacy takes time.
Fred, are there restrictions in war? Lines that the UAD doesn't cross? Measures that they find unethical?
Your thought processes are vague, Mr. Evans. What is it that you're trying to accomplish?
Well, Ms. Sanders, Ethan and I would like to stop Timor juice from being used as a weapon. We would like to talk to someone about preventing its weaponization.
It's going to take more than tablet research, a new cadet, and a librarian to make such a change. Have you ever had to fight for something you believed in just to lose after months of rebellion?
No.
Do you feel like this is worth fighting for?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Then meet me in my office tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. We have lots of work to do. You are going to learn firsthand how the UAD works, and what it means to believe in something so strong. Bring your friends. Bring anyone who is passionate about the cause. We've got work to do.
There's too many of them.
Just keep going, or you'll no longer have a need for that concern.
I'm trying.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Let's do this.
Jake and Madeline fought with every ounce of their being, their clothes drenched in sweat, covered in so much blood it was difficult to know who it came from. Nevertheless, they kept fighting on. Madeline held her foot in a half-long oak stake at the ready each time a vampire came around a corner. It was a sneak attack, and she definitely mastered it. The muscles in her arms were so strong at this point that when she thrust the stake into the young vampire's heart, it easily penetrated the many layers in his renegade uniform. The telltale logo was easy for her to spot now, and it was a trigger that caused violence in her heart. Like Pavlov's dog, she had been conditioned. She knew it was killing time. Jake was using a hunting bow to take the vampires out before they could reach Madeline, but there were so many now, he could only thin out the horde.
These vamps seem to act more like zombies than vampires. I wonder if someone or something is controlling them.
It's possible. There are some out there with mind control abilities. This level of control is quite advanced. I think I'm spent for today. Do you think you can slip out of the line of fire and meet me in that shop to your left, the one that says Ironworks?
Be there in 2 shakes of a bat's wing.
You crack me up, girl.
In that moment, Madeline dropped her guard, and a female vampire with long black hair and penetrating eyes hissed at her and lunged towards her jugular vein. Jake's arrow nearly caught the vamp in the head, but the creature moved at the last instant and it just nicked her ear. Madeline put her left arm up and the vampire bit into her hard. Madeline screamed and Jake covered her mouth quickly while dusting the vampire. Then, with his dusting hand, he immediately put pressure on the wound. He dug deep in his cargo pants and found a bandage made at the academy.
This will remove the venom and stop the blood loss, but you have to stop screaming, okay?
Madeline nodded, but she couldn't stop the twin streams that cleansed the soot and dirt on her face. Small amounts of drool and sinus mucus came out of her nose. Jake wiped her face with a clean cloth. He pulled her into the shop, sat her into an armchair, and barricaded the door.
I'm sorry, Jake. I'm going to get us killed. I know I am.
You're doing fine, trust me. Did you know that in my previous life I used to teach? People with special abilities, just like you.
Me? Special? Nah. I'm not even me anymore. I'm some dark version, a shadow of myself.
Apocalypse does that to you. You survived. Out of a whole truckload of people, it's down to just you now. If we're really going to survive this, we need to find the academy. I can't get a lock on it. I can't get a lock on anyone I knew previously. But there's something special about you and me. We're family now. And I swear I'll take care of you as if you were my own sister.
Okay. I'll do my best not to die.
While she said this, she wiped tears from her eyes and leaned over for a hug.
So I need to teach you to open portals. You're young and I can't keep doing it. It's too taxing on my body.
You've got it. First thing tomorrow morning. For now, let's sleep. Oh, and is there any tuna left? I'm starved.
I saved the last can for you. I'll eat the beef jerky.
You're the best, Jake.
Ability Management was the next class of the day. Darian and Kristen arrived just in time for the door to slide shut, and they sat down.
Good afternoon, class. Today we're going to learn about a simple spell called a glamour. This spell will allow you to disguise yourself as someone else. It can be a very handy skill to have when infiltrating an enemy's stronghold. The first thing you need to do is center and ground. You do this by imagining the outlines of your body, or more correctly, your aura. See how these lines may not be stable within your body as you sit right now. They may be going in all sorts of directions. Now pull them back towards yourself and allow them to merge into your whole being. Then you must imagine yourself expelling any negative energy into the ground through your feet. Another way to ground and center is to imagine that your life force energy is a sheet blowing in the wind. Imagine you begin folding and pulling the sheet into yourself. Once you're whole, you can imagine that you are a tree and your feet are roots. Release any of the energy that you don't want or need into the ground. I will give you a few minutes to do this.
The entire class sat there for a moment while centering and grounding themselves. Once enough time had passed, Professor Milstead began speaking again.
Okay, now I want you to pair up with a partner of the same sex as yourself.
It took a few moments, but everyone found a partner, and the lesson continued. Darian was paired with Max, and Kristen with Cynthia. Chad paired with Jesse, and Eric paired with John.
Now I want you to study your partner's face. Once you have memorized it, we will continue.
A few moments passed, and the professor felt comfortable moving forward.
Now, imagine that your partner's face is a mask, and that you are putting it on over your own face. Don't think about how differently shaped your partner's face is than yours. Just imagine that it's completely covering your face and concentrate. Think of nothing else. Once you have finished, imagine their face locking into place. Then you may think about whatever you want and the spell will be active until you mentally remove the mask.
Everyone in the class began concentrating. Only a few people got it right the first time. Darian was among those struggling with the exercise. It was frustrating. Max, on the other hand, got it immediately. He looked exactly like Darian.
Ha! I got it first. Guess you aren't perfect after all, Darian. Hey, Chris, come over here and give your husband a kiss.
Not if you paid me, Beetle Breath.
Hey, I'm Kristen. Come over here and get a smooch.
Aren't we exclusive?
The class seemed to enjoy this distraction. I guess your husband isn't perfect, Chris. I can't seem to figure it out. I don't know what's wrong. The professor came over to inspect Darian's work.
This is very common. Not everyone is able to get it right the first time. Do you have that image of Mr. Knight in your mind?
Yes.
In your mind, take his face off his head and put it on as a mask over your own face.
This feels wrong somehow, and a bit creepy, like something Jeffrey Dahmer would come up with.
Take your time. It is neither wrong nor right. It just is.
Darian concentrated again. This time he did exactly what the professor told him to do. He imagined taking Max's face off and putting it over top of his own. He opened his eyes and looked into a hand mirror that Milstead had brought to him. Much to his surprise, it worked this time for a few seconds. Then the image reverted to Darian's face. I had it for a minute and then it was gone.
Did you forget a step?
Oh yeah, I forgot to lock it in. Let me try again. Darian concentrated. He took the same steps as last time. Only this time, he locked the face in place. He looked in the mirror, and Max's face was staring back at him. Well, we've successfully switched faces. Now what?
Now we will switch back. Imagine removing the mask and putting it aside. This should nullify the spell.
Darian and Max followed the instructions and were back to looking like themselves in no time. Kristen and Cynthia were having a problem. Kristen still looked like Cynthia, and Cynthia still looked like Kristen.
I think we have a problem here.
You're telling me. I mean, you are very attractive, Kristen, don't get me wrong, but I kind of like my own face.
You gotta be kidding me. Cynthia, Kristen, what can I do to help?
The professor and Chad walked over to them.
Okay, so when we have a problem returning to our own face, it usually has something to do with past body shaming. Someone told you that you weren't as pretty as someone else. This usually happens to young women, but it can happen to men as well. Kristen, Cynthia, look at each other. You are both beautiful young women. Accept the way you look and then take the mask off again and imagine your own face underneath. Really concentrate.
Yes, you are both gorgeous and very strong, confident women. Women I'm proud to have in my life.
Chad looked at both women with love. Kristen sat back and thought about a time when someone said she was less than attractive. It was back when she was 14 years old. She had a lot of pimples and she was a little overweight due to the depression caused by the acne. She thought about how she naturally grew out of her weight problem, and then the acne went away. But her confidence in herself made people want to follow her. It made people want to be her friend. She was truly a beauty to look at because her soul energy radiated throughout her being. Kristen opened her eyes for a moment and saw her face on Cynthia. She realized how beautiful she truly was and mentally removed the mask. She looked into the mirror and she was back to herself again. Cynthia went through the same process. She remembered a time when she was not as well developed physically as she was now. Her figure was boyish and she was teased by many. As time passed, she grew up and grew into her adult body. She realized that it was just an old feeling returning. In the end, though, it didn't matter what anyone else thought. It was she who loved who she was, in her mind and in her heart. She was a vixen and sharp as a tack. She removed the mask in her mind and her face reverted to normal.
Very good. You all did very well. Practice this with different people you meet. Ask their permission first, of course, but practice. This can be a very handy skill.
The professor looked at the clock on the wall.
It seems we are out of time for today. We will continue to practice this technique in the next class. Class dismissed.
It was finally the weekend. Darian arrived at Sean's house around 6 a.m. and they'd gone to the forest just beyond the shielded area to hunt, just about a mile away from Sean's house. It was a misty morning, and the air seemed pregnant with purpose. Humidity hung thick around them. It seemed like it may rain soon. Darian and Sean were dressed in camouflage suits for the unique colors of the Academy forest. Shades of green were in the suit, but also some purple and dark blues. Darian had replicated the outfit at Sean's house before they'd left. Alicia packed them a couple of peanut butter sandwiches, and they had hoped that they would bring something good back for dinner. Darian wondered if they'd see a stinging possum beetle, but they were rare and very dangerous. Maybe they were better off not seeing one. He wondered if his new speed would help him catch any dangerous prey. Covertly and quietly they looked around until they found a bug big enough to hunt. After about an hour of walking stealthily, they found a big sucker with an 8-foot wingspan. It wasn't a stinging possum beetle, but it looked like it would have a good amount of meat inside. They each had a stunner, and they communicated via body language to decide who would be the one to stun the creature. After some confusion, they settled on a hand of rock, paper, scissors. Darian won, so he lifted the stunner and fired at the beast. The stunner made no sound, and the bug dropped quickly from the side of an oak tree, where it had been feeding on the tree's sap. The bug twitched on the ground. Sean approached it, and Darian followed.
That was good for your first time, Darian. You made almost no noise, which is hard when there are so many dead leaves on the ground. How'd you do that?
Darian looked down at his feet. They weren't touching the ground. He was hovering about 3 inches in the air.
Ha! So your telekinesis is manifesting as flight. That may come in handy.
It comes pretty easy to me. I just concentrated and visualized myself floating slightly off the ground. Hey, what do we do with this creature now that it's stunned?
First, we have to kill it. This is big enough for a couple of meals. However, if we want meat for the rest of the week, plus enough to share with your friends, we need to keep hunting. This is the Asana beetle, and its multicolored sea green shell keeps it hidden from large predators.
So where do we put the remains of this creature while we continue hunting?
I'm going to shift it into a dimensional pocket where we can access it later. We can clean it up back at my house.
Sean closed his eyes and began feeling around in the air very slowly and deliberately. His hand almost jerked when he found the spot. He put both hands into the spot and moved them apart. A small white light could be seen through the hole he just widened.
We'll put the carcass in here. Well, take its life essence, Darian. Take your knife and slice off its head.
Darian was nervous, but managed not to show it too much. He stopped hovering and walked across the ground. His feet made a crunching sound every time he stepped on the top of dead leaves on the forest floor. The sound felt annoyingly loud to him. His pulse felt fast, and he felt sweat begin to form on his upper brow. He'd never taken the life of another creature before, other than vampires. He felt like he had something to prove to himself and his brother, that he was a man. In this moment, he was simply providing food for his family. He mustered the strength from within his root chakra and moved forward. As he approached the creature, he reminded himself that it was still stunned, so he began slicing into its neck. At first, his hands shook a bit. It took a few minutes, but he was able to slice the bug's head completely off with his plasma blade. He then lifted it and placed it in the area that Sean specified. Sean reached around the outside of the dimensional pocket and sealed it shut by closing his hand around it. It beamed with incandescence like a small astral snowball. He then grabbed at the ball of light that remained and put it in his pocket.
You gotta teach me how to do that. Seems like a handy skill to have. Like a zipper pocket in reality.
What, opening and closing dimensional pocket? I'm sure one of your teachers will show you, but I can tutor you anytime you get stuck. Otherwise, what's the advantage of having your big brother by your side? You've got to learn air densities before I can help you with this ability. Let's get back to the hunt.
Darian nodded and began hovering a few inches off the ground again. Sean looked at what he was doing and felt a little jealous. Hovering would give any hunter a stealthy advantage. Sean wished he had more abilities that could be seen by others. Almost all his abilities were one that could not be seen by the naked eye. They moved quietly through the forest until they happened upon another large insect. This one had a large turquoise blue shell and yellow flecks, but no wings. Sean motioned to Darian, indicating that he wanted to bag the creature. He raised the stunner and fired. It missed and hit a tree, causing it to vibrate ever so slightly. It didn't move much, but it was enough to alert the creature to their presence. The creature began skittering away, and Darian hovered quickly over to where the creature was heading and fired his stunner at it. The creature then shook and rolled over onto its shell. The other side of the shell had a rose gold glittery veneer. Sean walked over to where they were and sliced the creature's miniature head off. He then proceeded to remove the ball of light from his pocket and open it up to place the creature inside.
That was impressive. You acted with no fear at all and quickly subdued the Rosalia. I may have to take you hunting more often. With your skills, we could get an entire freezer filled. We wouldn't need to hunt very often at all.
Thanks.
They continued to hunt for the next few hours, and once they had a few more kills placed neatly within the dimension pocket, they headed back to Sean's house. And that night, they would feast on roast beast. While the brothers were hunting, Kristen and Alicia arranged a day for the two to get to know one another better. Alicia had packed a basket of fruits and cheeses for them, and then met Kristen by the Timor statue.
Kristen, I'm over here.
Kristen picked up her pace to a light jog to meet Alicia faster. She was eager to start the day.
Deja vu, right?
Actually, when you experience the feeling of what we call deja vu, it means that you are at an important juncture in your life cycle. It's a moment you don't want to ignore.
That's pretty neat. I guess in this case it's just coincidence.
I thought we might go visit the Alice flower again. You seem so keen on it.
That sounds great.
Did you know that your mother-in-law, Andrea, took care of Alice for a while?
She's still into plants back home. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. So tell me, how did you get into the study of plants?
I've always felt like plants were an extension of my own life force. When I was a child, I went to a picnic near a sunflower field. The sunflowers were at least 10 feet tall. Each sunflower face I looked into felt like it was sending me warm energy from the sun god Ra.
That's beautiful. Sunflowers are one of my favorite flowers. I love riding my bicycle near the fields along the C&O Canal.
Alicia and Kristen stopped about 10 feet away from the Alice flower to enjoy an early lunch. There were grapes the color of tomatoes, but they tasted like cherries.
All the food you brought today is so delicious. I used to be a really picky eater, but trying new things has really expanded my flavor palette. I won't even ask how you made this chive cheese. I don't want to know.
I began growing my own garden when I was about 10. I picked up a book called The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. He says that when you put your energy into the plants and eat them, you become stronger. And in his book, he explains that we are all connected through this living force. Do you have that book on your earth?
I don't know, but it sounds interesting, and it seems right. My grandmother's tomatoes were the best I'd ever had. She used to sing to them. I thought she was a little insane, but maybe she was just making them super tasty.
I love meeting people from other Earths. It's like getting to know different versions of my own Earth.
Was your Earth quartz, magenta, or obsidian?
Quartz. Most people are from quartz class dimensions. Although, with the renegade attacks becoming more frequent, there are a lot more obsidian class Earths now than there were before. I want to try something. Hold this hematite. Now I want you to visualize a protective barrier around your body.
A purple glow began to appear around Kristen. The glow began to harden slightly.
Hold on one moment, Chris. I want to change something.
Alicia reached into a small leather purse that she had across her body and changed out the hematite for a medium-sized amethyst crystal.
Try now with this.
Kristen's shield went up immediately and crystallized into a hard, sleek surface. It was delicately designed with Celtic spirals and tulip flowers.
Wow! Where did that come from?
She lifted the shield in the air with ease, despite it being so large it could cover her entire body.
One of your abilities just manifested. Apparently you're a protector. Let's see if you can shield yourself from Alice's effects.
Both Alicia and Kristen walked towards Alice with shields raised. Alicia's hematite shield wasn't a beautiful one, but it did the job. The closer they got to the flower, the more they had to increase the shield's power, but their shields worked.
I can't wait to show Darian. He's gonna be so excited for me.
Be careful, Chris. You don't know all the things that this shield will protect you from yet, so keep testing it, but be cautious.
I promise I will, Alicia. Thank you for today. Let's go back now and show Sean and Darian. Maybe they managed to get us something for dinner.
Sounds good. I'd like us to pick up some herbs and tubers on the way back so we can make some mashed potatoes.
You know, I thought it would be weird hanging out with you today because you're my teacher and all, but it was fun. There aren't a lot of women around here, I suppose because it's a military operation. Sometimes I just feel like I need a friend who understands how difficult it can be to be a female. All my friends are guys, except Cynthia.
Don't worry, Chris. I've got your back. You and I can hang out whenever you'd like. It's been great for me as well. And if you want to invite Cynthia along next time, that's cool too.
Thanks, Alicia. Maybe someday we will be family. You never know what'll happen.
Thank you, young revolutionaries, for coming on such short notice. I hear you're all passionate about chemical warfare law. Ethan, Trent, I see you brought quite a crew with you, and we're going to need all of you. We may have a lot of hoops to go through and a lot of steps to follow, but it will be worth it in the end. Ethan and John would like to stop the Timor juice in the science lab from being used as chemical warfare.
From the back of the room, Max took note of the location of the Timor juice. Everyone else was given research assignments on law and weaponization.
Hey Max, I'm having a party later. Bring your friends. Selena 5 dorm. Bring some drinks and snacks replicated from your home world.
Party on, we'll be there.
Later that evening, Max decided to leave for Pharos' party early. With a backpack full of Oreos, Doritos, and IBC root beer, he made his way toward the science building.
They can't make it into a weapon if I take all their samples.
With a hard push on the door handle, Max attempted to break into the science lab. Instead, his arm and chest phased through the door.
Wicked!
Max's entire body shifted through the door and onto the other side of the science lab. His backpack came with him completely intact. The science lab seemed to be more technology than chemistry. Lots of electronic devices with digital displays. Max wanted to explore more, but didn't want to get caught. In a glass case, he found the Timber Juice vials. They were completely contained and not fragile, so he dropped them into his backpack. Next to the vials, he noticed another concoction, Alice flower extract.
Ooh, wonder what this does. Party on.
Max dropped the Alice flower vials into his sack and ghosted out of the lab, without a trace. In fact, there were no footprints. He must have been slightly levitating when he was in the room. After a quick survey of the surrounding area, he made his way back to a walking path and towards the party. And this would be one bodacious bash. After eating with Sean and Alicia, Darian and Kristen went back to their dorm. There were 3 letters on the common room table.
Look, Darian, we've got letters from home. Chad, you've got one too.
Thanks, Chris. I think I'll take it back to my room to read.
Darian and Kristen decided they couldn't wait and decided to read theirs right away. Darian began to read his letter from Madeline aloud.
Hey, Darian. Dad said you might be a little worried about me because of my new boyfriend and my black hair. Well, knock it off. It's my life and you can't control me, especially a million miles away at that academy. Seriously, though, I'm fine. So I wear a little black makeup, and so what? It's not like you were Mr. Perfect while you were in high school. I'm just exploring some new music and fashion choices, so just butt out, okay? Oh, and Mom and Dad say hello. Also, it's really nice not having to fight for the shower in the morning. School is fine, no one picks on me anymore. I think my black hair scares them. Serves them right, assholes. See, I can take care of myself. Now don't come back dead, okay? Maddie.
Well, at least she isn't being picked on. I guess she's just going through a phase.
I guess so. We may just have to give her some space. Talk about other things when we write her back.
That's a good idea. What does your letter say?
Dear Kristen, this summer has been crazy. I was traveling through Europe when all of a sudden I was offered a job with top secret clearance. Obviously, I can't tell you much, but I wanted to let you know I won't be home for a while. If you try to reach me, it may be near impossible as I'm traveling quite a bit. Please send letters to my parents' house and let me know how training is going. I miss and love you so much. Tell Darian and Max I said hello. Life is strange sometimes. You never know where it will lead you or what challenges you may face. Stay out of trouble. Your best friend, always and forever, Denise.
What sounds like Denise is a superstar once again. She doesn't even apply for a job, just gets some job offer for a secret clearance position.
Typical Denise. She's right, you know.
About what?
You never know what path life will take you on. It's a true adventure. I'm so glad I get to share it with you. Darian took Kristen into a long embrace and kissed her warmly with vigor and passion.
What was that for?
Sometimes I feel like if I don't take these small moments with you, I'll never get the chance again. So I've decided when I get the urge, I'm going to kiss you.
You'll have to catch me first.
Kristen took off at a fast pace towards the greens in front of the academy dorms. Darian caught her easily from behind, and they embraced again.
I can see why so many people love it here. Sometimes I wish we weren't training for the military. Maybe someday it needs to be me and you and a sunset on a beach.
Sounds perfect. Chad opened the letter and began to read.
Dear Chad, I've been reflecting on this past summer and I've realized that I haven't done right by you. In my life, I've been quite a bit egocentric. It's really easy to forget about others when you're trying so hard to get ahead. What I mean to say is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I dumped you on prom night. I'm sorry I wasn't an attentive girlfriend. In the end, we weren't right for each other, but that's not a good excuse for my bad behavior. I don't want any bad blood between us going forward. I really care about you as a person, as a friend. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Your hopeful friend, Denise.
Chad was feeling the old pain of the past as he folded the letter up and just shoved it back into the drawer of his desk. Tears streamed down his face. Why couldn't she apologize years ago? Should he talk to Max or Darian? Would they understand? Would they just want him to be chummy and go ahead and accept her apology? He did have Cynthia in his life now. Should he really let this pain haunt him? He decided to take a long walk to work it out.
Ethan, I've got it.
What?
The Timber Juice.
The what?
The music in Ferris's dorm building was obnoxiously riveting. None of the young men could hear a word the other was saying. Max pulled Chad and Ethan outside and produced the vials from his backpack.
Oh man, you're going to get us in trouble.
Not if we don't get caught.
Guys, this is wrong. We need to take it back to the lab. It doesn't belong to us. What's that other vial?
Never mind it.
Come on, just show us.
Max pulled out the Alice flower extract vial and showed it proudly.
What do you think it does?
Let me hold it for a moment. Thanks. Wow, okay, this feels great. Max, hold my hand.
Max joined hands with Ethan and felt the euphoric sensations travel throughout his body.
Fuck this. Let's get this party started.
Max took off at a light sprint toward the punch bowl and poured the vial of Alice flower extract into it. He then mixed it around with the glowing lavender spoon and began pouring drinks for all the passers-by. Pretty soon, inhibitions were lost.
Hey guys, look what I found.
Jesse was holding spelunking gear for 5. Several partygoers grabbed the gear and pulled Jesse up the stairs.
Come on, Jesse, let's rappel from the roof.
In another corner of the room, Max and Kristen were sitting in an obscenely large neon green beanbag chair. They were singing a song they'd made up in high school.
'Cause he's a seedy-looking lorry driver driving down the road. Wanking is his specialty while looking at the hose. Now he's whacking off his cock and then he's shooting off his load.
Meanwhile, Cynthia, Ethan, and Darian were playing a board game where the pieces actually moved on their own. You could even move each piece just by thinking of your move. The game had gotten out of hand, however, when Cynthia's warrior goddess started throwing real ice beams at Ethan's mud troll. Ethan was getting annoyed, so his mud troll began throwing mud at Cynthia instead of her character. Darian decided he'd had enough and decided to start destroying soda bottles with his fist outside. It wasn't long before Mrs. Madison and the campus security showed up to shut the party down.
The man in my head told me to do it.
What's the man's name?
When I think of you, I touch myself.
Sounds like she has the hots for you, Destroyer.
I'm gonna let him suckle me a while, till the brain's all gone.
Lexi, who got into your head?
Mommy would let him in, if she knew him. She lets all the bad men in. I told Grandpa, but he said just put a dresser against the door.
Who is Grandpa? Creepy much?
Puts his cigars out on my feet when I was a baby. Then he suckled at my toes. Now I can let all the vampires in. I'll let them suckle at my breast.
She wasn't like this when she came in. Just a vampire slut. Just one of the girls to keep the vamps happy. Someone's been messing with her mind.
That's it. I'm a slut. I can make you feel pleasure and pain. Don't touch me there. Daddy said I'm his now.
As much as any girl likes to be pinned down in the heat of the moment, what happened here was not voluntary. You're right, Destroyer. Someone has scrambled her brains. All egg whites with no yolk. Someone within the Renegades must have used mind control on Lexi. Why would they do that? She wanted to be here.
Daddy says he's gonna hurt you if you don't stop. He says go away. Give me dahlias and rose water, and we can fall in love. Don't you want to bring me into the nap zone? I can make you feel so good there.
Nap zone? Do you mean join you in your dreams?
In my dreams, I'll dominate you, and he can watch from the dark clouds.
Dark clouds?
Come with me, Dominator. In the dark clouds? Please?
I think you better go with her. Maybe you can see what happened.
What if I can't get back?
I'll stay here as your anchor.
Okay, Lexi. Take me in with you. Let's go to the dream sleep together.
You think because you're my brother that you are special? You think this gives you and your friends the right, nay, the privilege to treat the academy like it's your own personal playground? Well, I've got news for you, Darian. I can kick you out of here faster than you can say cadet.
We didn't. I mean, I wasn't.
Don't even try to explain your actions to me. And Kristen, didn't you know that it had something to do with the Alice flower by the way everyone was acting? Honestly, I put more stock in you making the right choices. Do you even see yourselves right now? You're an absolute mess. And Fred, you've been guiding students for years. How could you start this sort of insubordination?
Ma'am, I had nothing to do with the...
How am I supposed to recommend all of you for officer school? You know, that is the next step, right? You were supposed to set an example here. Truly, this is military espionage.
This isn't the first time we've had foolish young students commit these types of shenanigans. Aren't you being a little hard on them, Samantha?
I think Samantha feels that her reputation as a recruiter was put on the line because of their antics. Sam, they're good kids at heart. No real damage was done here. What about doling out their punishment and letting us all get some sleep?
I haven't decided yet how you all will be reprimanded. It's Saturday night. Well, technically Sunday morning. So let's return to our quarters. On Monday, before classes begin, you will report to the UAD council room. See you at 0700. And Fred, I'll meet you at 0900. Trent, be glad you had no part in this.
Pharos, Max, Darian, Kristen, John, Ethan, Jesse, Cynthia, and Fred left Samantha's office with their heads held down low.
I don't know why I'm here. I didn't do anything wrong.
Guilty by association, I suppose.
I'm sorry, guys. I guess I just wanted to make it easier for everyone to have a little fun, too. I had no idea how crazy things would get.
We did have fun. I can see how someone could make the Alice flower into a drug. I'm more worried about that than the Timor juice being made into a weapon.
We are in the military. Using the timber juice as a weapon makes sense. I'm sorry if you don't agree, but that's the job we signed up for.
I must agree with you, Chad. If it can help fight the enemy, I'm all for it.
You two have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea how it feels for someone like me. Weaponizing it could have unforeseen consequences, and what if it's used against us? But I guess it won't be our problem if we get kicked out.
I don't think that will happen. The party was insane, but it wasn't that insane. What I did, on the other hand, could be a fireable offense.
Well, if there's anything we can do to help you, Fred, please let us know.
Thanks, that means a lot.
From across the lawn, Darian's future sister-in-law, Alicia, aka Miss Harvey, the botany instructor, approached.
So I heard you guys had a pretty raging party last night.
I'm sorry if we did anything to cause you trouble. Sam is going to have my head on a pogo stick.
Don't worry, I'm going to talk to her now. Max wasn't in my class and didn't know that Alice flower would have so many effects. It doesn't excuse his behavior, but it may soften the blow.
Thank you, Miss Harvey. Anything you could do would be great.
Wish me luck.
With Sam, you'll need more than luck. Here's a rose quartz to keep your temper even.
August 8th, 1995. Jake and I barely survived a major vampire attack today. I feel like a burden on him, but I am learning how to protect myself. I'm getting stronger every day. Maybe Darian wasn't the only one in our family to have super strength. Soon I may be even strong enough to protect Jake. I owe him a lot. We still haven't gotten any solid leads on the identity of the vampire leader. I still think Jake knows more than he's telling me. These vampires are really pissing me off. I wrote a free-form poem, just in case someone finds it after we're gone. The offense. What will this world be? When I drip blood from their necks, when I throttle their throats, when I smash their heads into the goddamn window? I am so strong. I can handle a fight. Put your dukes up. I am ready for the offense. Never verbal am I. Physical. 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 I am psycho. I am pissed. I am thrown. End journal entry.
Hey, babe. Looking fine. What's different? Wait. Let me guess. Where's your scar? Did you get it removed?
No, babe. I'm just trying something new. This makeup chick came to the door and she gave me a free makeover. She did such a good job that I decided to let her go instead of feeding her to the vampires.
Wow, you really did like her. You guys gonna be BFFs or something?
I'm not sure yet. I did place an order with Sassy Lashes with Ash. I suppose I'll follow her in her magenta class dimensions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That way I can find her in case I change my mind.
Still, it does look like she gave you a pretty good hookup on nature-inspired products. And you look wicked hot.
Thanks, babe.
That's Sassy Lashes with Ash. Look it up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can purchase her products from her website, sassylasheswithash.com. Thank you for listening to the 5th episode of Battalion 13 the podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Battalion 13HQ. Email us at b13 at battalion13hq.com. Support the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/Battalion13HQ.